Okay. Well. Okay. Welcome back. Good evening, everyone. Am I audible to all of you? Please do let me know. Am I audible to all of you? So, how are you people? This is my fifth weekend. Fifth weekend with you people, teaching economics with all of you or to all of you. So, how do you feel economics as a subject is? Good, bad, very horrible, right? Hopeless, out of your cup of tea, right? Not at all useful for UPSC exam. And please do let me know. Now, before I go forward, anybody has an issue regarding what is nominal exchange rate, what is real exchange rate? Please do let me know. Anybody has a problem regarding what is a nominal exchange rate, what is a real exchange rate, and why we say, right? Why do we say nominal exchange rate doesn't provide you all of this information, but real exchange rate definitely yes, it is much better compared to nominal exchange rate. Okay, done. Now, before I go forward, before we jump to the next concept, understand the point here, right? So, before we jump to the next concept, whenever real exchange rate changes, what is the impact of it? Whenever the real exchange rate changes, what is the impact of it? Always remember this: when real exchange rate goes up, when the real exchange rate goes up, your exports will become less competitive. Remember this, please by heart it. Whenever real exchange rate will go up, your exports will become less competitive. For example, sir, what do you mean by this? Let me give a very simple example. Imagine, right? Imagine, right? One bottle in India is equal to two bottles in USA. Right? Understand this. Imagine now you are from India. Okay, you are exporting these bottles from India. One bottles in India is equal to two bottles in USA. Now, based on this, please tell me, are the bottles in India cheaper or bottles in USA are cheaper? Let me know. I'm writing one bottle in India is equal to two bottles in USA. Real exchange rate. So based on this, please tell me where the bottles are cheaper, in India or in USA. Or think, Baba, think. Apply CSAT knowledge, common sense. Can I say, bottles in USA are cheaper? Yes or no? Bottles in USA are cheaper. Correct or wrong? One bottle in India. What is the meaning of one bottle in India is equal to two bottles in USA? If I have 100 rupee, using that 100 rupee, I can purchase one bottle in India, but two bottles in USA. That's it. If I have 100 rupee, I can purchase one bottle in India, but two bottles in USA. So don't you think bottles in USA are cheaper? Now please tell me, if this becomes one bottle is equal to three bottles in USA. This is right. Basically, the real exchange rate for India has gone up. Now please tell me, if the real exchange rate for India has gone up, do you think your exports will become more competitive or less competitive? Based on this, please tell me now. Will your exports become less competitive or more competitive? Don't you think exports will become less competitive? All of you will agree? Array, some of you are saying more. My dear, one bottle in India is equal to two bottles in USA. One bottle in India becomes three bottles in USA. Real exchange rate has increased, which means now bottles in USA are much more cheaper compared to earlier situation. These are much more cheaper in USA. Do you think your products are becoming more export competitive? No, less export competitive. On the other side, imagine one bottle is equal to two bottles in USA. It becomes one bottle is equal to zero point 0.5 bottles in USA. One bottle in India is equal to zero point 0.5 bottles in USA. Real exchange rate has come down. Now think of it, what will happen to your export competitiveness? Right? Don't you think your export competitiveness has improved now? All of you will agree? Your export competitiveness has improved, increased. It has become more. Can I go forward here? Please do let me know. Can I go forward or not? That is simple. By heart this. If real exchange rate goes up, then your export competitiveness will go down. If real exchange rate goes down, your export competitiveness will go up. Simply remember this. Can we go forward now? Please do let me know. Can we go forward? Now, let me go forward. Concept of nominal effective exchange rate. Concept of nominal effective exchange rate and real effective exchange rate. Now, point number one, follow this discussion carefully. Slightly technical, but once you understand, it is just right, it will become a game for you. Point number one, India will conduct a trade only with one country or multiple countries. Let me know. India will conduct a trade only with one country or multiple countries. All of you will agree multiple countries, correct? It will conduct a trade with multiple countries, which means until now I'm making a comparison between rupee and dollar. Don't you think we should also make a comparison of rupee with euro? We should make a comparison of rupee with yuan. You should make a comparison of rupee with yen. We should make a comparison of rupee with pound as well. Does it make sense to you? Yes or no? Does it make sense to you? Because you are until now you are simply comparing rupee versus a dollar, but other currencies are also important. Why? We are conducting trade with other countries as well. Now that is a point number one. Point number two. Point number two. Let me give a very basic idea. Please tell me. Imagine 1 rupee is equal to $0.6. Imagine, just understand this carefully. Imagine 1 rupee is equal to $0.6. Now 1 rupee becomes $0.72. 1 rupee becomes $0.72. Now please tell me what has happened to value of rupee in this example. Has the rupee value from this to this, has rupee value increased or decreased? Let me know. Has the rupee value increased or decreased? That is, whether the value of rupee has it appreciated or depreciated. Please think of it very carefully. Please think of it very carefully. Right? Can I simply say this? Understand this carefully. For 1 rupee, you are able to purchase a $0.6. Now, for 1 rupee, you are purchasing $0.72, which means value of rupee has increased. Correct or not? Value of rupee has increased. Value of rupee is appreciated. Value of rupee is valued more. Correct or no? The value of rupee is valued more now compared to earlier situation. Now, same thing, can I write it in different way? Same thing. That is, I will write this as 100. I will write this as 120. If 1 rupee was equivalent to 0.6, I will write this as 100. And 1 rupee is equal to 0.72. Can I write it as 120 now? All of you will agree. From 100 units, this has become 120 units. In terms of numbers, rather than comparing currencies, I'm comparing the value of rupee in terms of, right, let's say numbers. Anybody is finding it difficult, please do let me know right now. And can I call this as indexation? Can I call this process as indexation? Indexation means connecting it to a number, simply connecting it to a number. For example, imagine from 120 it will become 150. Please do let me know. From 120 it will become 150. Can I simply come to a conclusion? Between this time period, the rupee has appreciated a bit more. Let's say this was in 2021. This one will be in 2022. Please tell me from 21 to 22, can I say rupee value has appreciated? And from 22 to let's say 23, this will fall down to 130. Now please tell me, can I say 22 to 23 rupee value has depreciated? Yes or no? Let me know. Are you able to understand these concepts? Why? This is a concept of indexation. This is a concept of indexation, right? This is the idea of indexation. I'm able to compare rupee value against, right, a currency in terms of numbers, not in absolute values, but in terms of indexation. And as the index will change, can we come to know whether rupee value is appreciating or depreciating? Let me know. As the index values will keep on changing, can we come to know from this point to this time period, is value of rupee, right, increasing or value of rupee decreasing? And that is point number 2. Remember the concept of indexation. Remember the concept of indexation. Point number 3. This is a very simple question to all of you. Let me know whether these kind of questions will be asked in UPSC. That is, whether UPSC will ask you the calculations of this nature. Sir, what kind of calculations? The nominal effective exchange rate. Nominal effective exchange rate, pi I is equal to 1, that is E upon EI, trade weightage. Real effective exchange rate is equal to pi NI is equal to 1 whole bracket E upon EI, P upon PI whole bracket weighted indices, WI. So this is a very simple question to all of you. How many of you think that questions on these calculations will be asked in UPSC? Let me know. How many of you are under the impression that questions on these calculations will be asked by UPSC? Answer is no. Don't waste your time. Answer is no. This is important. This is important for optional paper. This is important for optional paper. Is this important for GS paper 3? Answer is no. Please do not waste your time. Now, sir, if it is not being asked, why did you write it? You're simply scaring me. Why did you write it? Answer is very simple. In some time, just give me some time. In some time, I'll simply say REER will increase. Right? I'll simply throw a statement at you people. REER will increase. And I will also tell you REER will decrease. And many of you will ask me, sir, how REER is calculated? And many of you will ask me, sir, how REER will be calculated? If you want to understand REER calculation, you will have to solve for this formula. Now tell me, will all of you accept a statement when I say as REER will increase, meaning is this much? If REER will decrease, meaning is like this. Or is there anybody in the classroom who says how REER will decrease? Show it to me. And how REER will increase? Show it to me. If you say, please tell me how REER will increase or decrease, I will start calculating using integration. Very simple. I know how the calculations are done, but I'm pretty sure many of you are afraid of calculus. Many of you are afraid about integration. That is exactly what I'll have to do. So these formulas are relevant for optional paper, not at all required for GS paper 3. So if you don't even look at it, not required. Right? Absolutely not required. Right? So that is the reason REER and NEER calculations are not at all needed. What is important is you understand that point. Okay, let's start. Let's start with all of this. Let's start understanding what is NEER and REER. Point number 1, both are indices. Any problem with point number 1? Both REER and NEER are indices. Both are indices. Indices means what? We are making a comparison, and by making a comparison, we are coming to a conclusion. What is happening to the value of rupee? What is happening to trade competitiveness from Indian side? Now, point number 2, the EER simply stands for effective exchange rate. Right? ER stands for effective exchange rate. Now, what is the meaning of effective exchange rate? Because India conducts a trade with multiple countries. Simple idea. India does not conduct trade only with one country. It will conduct a trade in multiple countries. So under exchange rate, effective exchange rate, it will capture movement of home currency against basket of currencies of trade partners. What is happening to the value of rupee against basket of currencies, right? The measurement is nothing but effective exchange rate. Now there are two types of effective exchange rates. One is called as a nominal effective exchange rate. The nominal effective exchange rate in simple is nothing but it is the weighted, that is a share out of the total trade. It is the weighted average of bilateral nominal exchange rates of the rupee in terms of foreign currencies, right? And I've written a term unadjusted. Unadjusted means without considering the price levels in different countries. Without considering the price levels in different countries, or else in simple terms, without adjusting for inflation. Without adjusting for inflation. Okay. Now, what do you mean by nominal effective exchange rate? Let me show it to you. Imagine we'll conduct a rupee trade. Imagine we'll conduct a trade with USA, which means we will consider rupee versus a dollar nominal exchange rate. We'll also conduct a trade with, let's say, European market, which means we will also have to consider rupee versus euro. We'll conduct a trade with China, which means we will also have to consider rupee versus yuan. Point number one. Point number two, please tell me, should we consider only the exchange rate, or we should also take into consideration how much of the total trade we conduct with USA, how much of the total trade we conduct with European Union, and how much of the total trade we conduct with China, right? That is in terms of yuan, right? So answer is yes. We should consider both the factors, right? So what are the factors you should consider? One, what is the value of rupee against the currencies of trading partners? And point number two, right? How much of the total trade we are conducting with USA, with European Union, with Chinese market? And why this is relevant? Why should we consider even this? Please tell me, will the exchange rate be affected by how much we import, how much we export? Let me know. Will the exchange rate be affected by how much we import and how much we export? Will the exchange rate be affected or not? Answer is yes. Answer is yes. Some of you are saying no. India's exchange rate, don't you think it is affected by how many goods and services we import? Yes. India's exchange rate, is it not affected by how many goods and services we export? Answer is yes, by the way. Now, right, add to this, imagine one example. Country A will conduct 99% of the trade with country B, and country A will conduct only 1% of the trade with country C. If the currency used between country A and B is a dollar, and currency used between country A and C is a euro, don't you think rupee versus a dollar exchange rate, right, it will have a higher impact on the trade here? Yes or no? The rupee versus a dollar, what is the value of rupee versus dollar? Don't you think, because most of the trade is conducted in terms of dollar, don't you think that will have a higher impact on exchange rate compared to, right, this rupee versus euro? Anybody is finding this difficult? Please do let me know. This is technical. I know for a fact that this is technical, slightly difficult. Please do let me know right now. All I'm saying is, imagine India is conducting trade with USA. India is also conducting trade with UK. Point number two, out of the total trade that we are doing, 99% of the trade is with USA. So point number three is this question to all of you. Don't you think because most of the trade that we are doing is with USA, this should be much more important for us in finding out what will happen to rupee versus basket of currencies compared to this trade? Yes or no? The trade with USA should be given more weightage in finding out what will happen to rupee value against basket of currencies compared to trade of India with UK. Why? Most of the trade we are doing is with USA. That is the concept of trade weightage. Now, can I simply say, if I want to give a weightage for the trade conducted by India, I will give 99% weightage for India-USA trade, that is rupee versus a dollar trade, and just 1% weightage for India and UK trade, that is rupee versus euro trade. Do you understand the trade weightage now? Please do let me know. Do you understand the trade weightages now? And what is the use of these trade weightages? Let me show it to you. Before you ask me, sir, what is the use of trade weightages? Can you see this E upon EI here? Let me know. Can you see this E upon EI? E is nothing but the exchange rate. Nominal exchange rate in India, nominal exchange rate in a foreign market, and WI is a trade weight. WI is nothing but, this is called as a trade weightage. WI is nothing but a trade weightage. So please tell me, in the calculation of NEER, nominal effective exchange rate, point number 1, are we considering trade weightages with all the trading partners that we are conducting trade with? Answer is yes. Are we considering what is the nominal exchange rate for rupee versus a pound, rupee versus a euro, rupee versus a dollar, rupee versus right, let's say yuan, rupee versus a yen, rupee versus Australian dollar, etc. That is the answer to it. This is basically called as a nominal effective exchange rate. Now, if this is very difficult for you, trust me, some of the students will find it very difficult. Nothing wrong with that, because this is more of an optional concept. What you need to understand is very simple. Under nominal effective exchange rate, we compare rupee versus a basket of currencies. We compare rupee versus a basket of currencies, and we adjust it with the trade weightages. That's it. We take even the trade weightages when we compare rupee against basket of currencies. That is nominal effective exchange rate for you. Now, next point, please do let me know. Can I say, in nominal exchange rate, only rupee is compared against one more currency. Whereas the nominal exchange, effective exchange rate, we are comparing rupees against a basket of currencies. And point number 2, nominal effective exchange rate is nothing but it is an index. Nominal effective exchange rate is nothing but it is an index. For example, imagine NEER index last year was 130. Now this year NEER index has become 140. Please tell me what is the meaning of it. Apply the logic that we have discussed earlier. Last year NEER index, that is rupee versus a basket of currencies, was 130, and this year NEER index has become 140. What do you understand by it? What do you understand by it? Do you understand that rupee value has increased or rupee value has decreased against basket of currencies? Think of it. Please think of it. I am talking about rupee value. Some of you are answering in terms of right, exports and imports. I'm not talking about exports and imports. I'm talking about rupee value. Right? So I'll repeat it. Imagine rupee versus, some of you are making a mistake here, right? Which means you're not listening properly, right? If you want to understand it better, do you remember this example? 1 rupee was equivalent to $0.6, and 1 rupee will become equivalent to $0.72. And I said, if I take this as a base, I will write this equivalent to 100. Now this will become 120, correct? Let me know. If I take this as a base and write it as 100, now this 1 rupee is equal to $0.72 will become 120. But you tell me, if I've moved from 100 to 120 in this example, what has happened to rupee value? Has the rupee value increased or not? Think of it, my dear. Apply the logic. Has the rupee value improved or not? Is the rupee, they'll say overvaluation of the rupee. Valuation is higher for rupee. Correct or wrong? In the same way, I am writing rupee against basket of currencies. It was, let's say, 130 last year. And now, rupee against basket of currencies has become, let's say, 140. Can I say the same thing here again? Let me know. Instead of one currency, you're taking basket of currencies. Can I again say value of rupee against basket of currencies has improved? Valuation has increased. Yes, correct or wrong? Valuation has increased. And let's say this is from 21 to 2022, from 22 to 2023. Let's say rupee against basket of currencies from 140 last year, from 140, imagine it will fall down to 135 this year. So now please tell me, from last year to this year, what has happened to the value of rupee? Can I say value of rupee has fallen down? Yes or no? Right? Valuation has fallen down. Valuation has come down. Agreed or not? Understand this logic. Please understand this logic. Do not calculate. Please do not waste your time. For example, have a look at this. Right, let me show it to you. Rise in NEER indicates that. Right, now look at the statement and tell me, does it make sense to you or not? Rise in NEER indicates that the domestic currency is appreciating against a basket of currencies of trading partners and vice versa. Correct or wrong? Right, point number one in this slide. Rise in NEER indicates from 1 year to the next year, if the NEER increases, it simply means the domestic currency is appreciating against a basket of foreign currencies. Right? The value is increasing. Overvaluation. That is the basic idea. Please remember this. Any difficulty? But in formula, we have trade weight as an exponential, and valuation of rupee will be decided on trade weight also. Yes, trade weight is also important. But what is the meaning of this NEER index? Please understand, it is an index. It is an index, my dear. If NEER index will increase, it simply means rupee value against basket of currencies. After adjusting for trade weightage, the value has increased. Please buy heart it. Do not waste your time. Do not waste your time. You can check 100 books for GS paper 3. Do not waste your time. Simply buy heart it. Now on the other side, imagine last year NEER index was 97. This year it will fall down to 94. Can I say exactly opposite? Yes or no? Can I say exactly opposite? Compared to last year, in this year, rupee against basket of currencies has lost value. There is undervaluation of rupee. This is the point. Simply by heart it if you cannot understand calculations. Nothing wrong with that. If you cannot understand calculation, simply by heart it. And you can keep on asking me about calculation. I will not solve it. Don't worry. Point number 2. Come to rear. Much more, right, complicated. Now, please make a comparison between two formulas. The first one is for NEER. Second one is for REER. Please tell me what is the difference in the formula of NEER and REER. Do not waste your time. Please tell me what is the difference in the formula for NEER and REER. What is the difference? Can I say price levels is the difference? Yes or no? Can I say price levels? What is meaning of price levels? What is the inflation level in different countries? What is the inflation level in different countries? Price levels in different countries is also considered. Now, what is the meaning of this? Let me explain it. Real effective exchange rate, real effective exchange rate is the weighted average of nominal exchange rate after adjusting for price levels or after adjusting for inflation. I'll repeat it. What is real effective exchange rate? You are comparing rupee against basket of currencies, plus you are taking the trade weights, plus you are also adjusting for price levels in different countries. You are also adjusting for price levels in different countries. This is called as real effective exchange rate. Now, how do you understand the importance of it? Please go back to the session we had earlier before the break. Please tell me nominal effective exchange rate, nominal exchange rate and real exchange rate. Can I say nominal exchange rate will simply provide competitiveness of a rupee against dollar, whereas a real exchange rate will provide you information regarding the export competitiveness. Correct? Let me know. If you remember the discussion, please do let me know. The nominal exchange rate will simply provide you information regarding rupee competitiveness. How competitive is rupee, right, compared to dollar. Whereas a real exchange rate would provide you export competitiveness. Now apply the same logic. Apply the same logic. You are talking about real effective exchange rate. It is an index. It is an index. Real effective exchange rate, if real effective exchange rate increases, right, think of it. If real effective exchange rate increases, I will say export competitiveness will come down. Correct or wrong? Apply the same logic. Do not complicate it. Do not complicate it. Do you remember RER? Real exchange rate. Do you remember RER? Real exchange rate. If real exchange rate increases, what will happen to trade competitiveness? If real exchange rate increases, your trade competitiveness, export competitiveness will come down. Apply the same logic. Apply the same logic now. Instead of comparing India and USA, instead of comparing between goods of India and USA, now you are comparing India with USA, India with UK, India with China, India with Europe, etc. Now this is basically concept of real effective exchange rate. Correct? Please let me know. If you compare between goods of India and USA, this is real exchange rate. But instead of that, you will compare India's goods with UK's goods, Chinese goods, USA's goods, Japanese goods, South Korean goods, group of countries. If you make a comparison like this, can I call this as it is a real effective exchange rate? Now, if real effective exchange rate increases, even now, can I say your export competitiveness will come down? Correct? Let me know. This is a basic idea. If real effective exchange rate increases, can I say your export competitiveness will come down? Apply the same logic. Instead of one country, you have multiple countries. That's it. Instead of country one, you will have, let's say, 10 countries comparing that with India. So logic will still remain same. If RER increases, your export competitiveness will go down. If RER index increases, your export competitiveness will again go down. That's it. Do not go beyond this. Do not learn calculation. UPSC, trust me, will not ask you calculations. So real effective exchange rate, it is the weighted average of nominal exchange rate after adjusting for price levels or basically for inflation. Okay, that is real effective exchange rate. Now, who will calculate both of these indices? Who will calculate a near index? Who will calculate a rear index? Both of them are calculated by Reserve Bank of India. For every month, both of them are calculated by Reserve Bank of India. For one calculation, they will take basket of 6 currencies. For one of the calculation, they'll take a basket of 6 currencies. And for another calculation, they will take a basket of 40 currencies. Sir, why two baskets? Please look at these countries. Can I say most of the trade that is conducted by India is with these countries? Yes or no? The most important trading partners for India are these countries. So that is the reason one basket only 6 currencies, another basket 40 currencies. And next point is this is an index. REER, NEER, these are indices. So if you say indices, what is the base year? Base year for the calculation of indices is 15 and 16. So these are certain important points regarding NEER, REER. What is the final point you need to remember? If everything is difficult, please remember these 2 points. Simply by at these 2 points. If NEER index will start increasing, it simply means rupee is appreciating, overvalued against a basket of currencies. If NEER is falling down, if NEER index falls down, value of rupee against a basket of currencies has fallen down. Right? We'll simply say undervalued. On the other side, if REER increases, real effective exchange rate increases, it means exports are becoming more expensive, hence less competitive. Right? Is it okay? Exports are becoming more expensive, hence less competitive. And when exports will become more costlier, imports will become more cheaper. This will lead to loss of trade competitiveness. Right? So these are the 2 points regarding the application part of REER and NEER. Please by heart them if you are unable to understand the discussion. Please by heart them. I will not recommend you to by heart the calculations. I will not recommend you to by heart or understand the equation. Not at all needed. If you have understood the concept, good. Otherwise, nothing wrong with it. Simply remember the definition and remember the implication. Now, let me ask you one more question. Imagine if the inflation rate will keep on increasing. Simple question to all of you. Inflation in India will keep on increasing. Don't you think that will increase the gap between NEER and REER index? Let me see. This was asked by UPSC, by the way. I repeat, if the inflation in India will keep on increasing, don't you think the gap between NEER index and REER index, the gap will also keep on increasing? Because in one of the parameter, inflation is considered. In another parameter, inflation is not considered. So when inflation will change, the gap between NEER and REER will also keep on changing. This was asked by UPSC. Last year, this was asked by UPSC in the prelims question. Right? So that is a basic idea. Please remember it. Now let me go to the next concept. Purchasing power parity. Purchasing power parity. I had used the term earlier. Today let's have a discussion. Can anybody tell me where I had mentioned the term purchasing power parity in your class? Let me see. Can anybody tell me where I've used the term earlier, purchasing power parity? I have not discussed. I know that. But where have I used the term? If you check the PPTs very carefully, I've mentioned it when I was discussing per capita income. Per capita income, not in the banking chapter, in the per capita income. I'd say the per capita income is generally used to measure standard of living, quality of living. But the criticism was that just in terms of rupees, when you provide in terms of rupees the per capita income, that will not give you how is the standard of living in India compared to a citizen in USA. What is the standard of living in India compared to a citizen of UK? That standard quality cannot be arrived at. That comparison cannot be made looking at per capita income. Why? Please understand now. There is something called as purchasing power parity. Purchasing power parity. It's a theory. Simple terms, it's a theory. Now, what is a purchasing power parity? Right? In the purchasing power parity, it is a theoretical exchange rate. Underline the term theoretical, not applicable in real life. Theory, but it is correct in theory. So it is a theoretical exchange rate at which you can buy the same amount of goods and services with another currency. I will explain this Understand this very carefully. It is a theoretical exchange rate at which you can buy the same amount of goods and services with other currency. Meaning what? If you have certain currency, using this currency, you can purchase same set of goods and services in two different countries. Is it okay? I'll repeat it again. What is purchasing power parity? It is an exchange rate wherein if you have certain amount of currency, using this currency, you can purchase same set of goods and services in two different countries. That is called as purchasing power parity. Sir, how is that possible? Let me give you a very simple example. Very simple example. Follow this very carefully. This bottle is present in USA and it is there even in India. Okay. This bottle is manufactured and sold in USA as well as sold in India. Let's say hypothetically, the bottle price in USA is $2 and the price of the bottle in India is 100 rupees. Now, if exchange rate is $1 is equal to 50 rupees, please tell me, will I be able to purchase same set of goods and services in both of these countries using same amount of money? Look at it and do let me know. Can I use same amount of money to purchase same set of goods and services in both of these countries? For example, if I have, some of you are saying no. Why? Please do let me know. Let's say I have 100 rupee. Let's say I have 100 rupee. How many bottles can I purchase using 100 rupees in India? Tell me now. How many bottles can I purchase? Arey Baba, some of your CSAT is right is going haywire here and there. Come back to the classroom. The cost of the bottle in India is 100 rupee. So you have 100 rupee. How many bottles will you be able to purchase in India? One bottle. Now you have 100 rupee. At exchange rate of $1 is equal to 50 rupees. How many bottles will be able to purchase in USA? Same one bottle. Now please tell me, if I give you the definition, whether this is the same or not. What is the purchasing power parity? Purchasing power parity is a theoretical exchange rate wherein using same currency, I can purchase same set of goods and services in two different countries. Can I say at $1 is equal to 50 rupees, assuming this is the price of the bottle, this is a purchasing power parity? Let me know. Assuming, right, the bottle cost is $2 in USA and 100 rupees in India. If I say, right, $1 is equal to 50 rupee, can I say the currency is at purchasing power parity? Let me know. Please participate. I'll repeat it again. Assuming bottle price in USA is $2 and in India it is 100 rupee and nominal exchange rate of $1 is equal to 50, can I now say purchasing power parity between Indian currency and US currency is $1 is equal to 50 rupees? Correct? Anybody has a problem with this? This is called as exchange rate. This is called as exchange rate at purchasing power parity. This is called as exchange rate at purchasing power parity. Now, who will publish this exchange rate at purchasing power parity? This is published by World Bank. This is published by World Bank. Now, have a look at this. For the year 2020, the exchange rate at purchasing power parity for India was at 22 local currency units. Meaning what? As per the calculation or the report that was published by the World Bank for 2020, if you talk about exchange rate at purchasing power parity, then it was $1 is equal to 22 rupees. This was right basically the exchange rate at purchasing power parity for the year 2020. And this will keep on changing. It will keep on changing from one year to next year. But you remember the concept of purchasing power parity. I hope you understand. Please remember the concept of purchasing power parity. What is the meaning of it? It is simply using the same currency, you can purchase a same set of goods and services in two different countries. But please tell me, will this theory work out in real life? If you look at it, please understand this now. If you look at it, one bottle in India is equal to one bottle, right, in USA, correct? Yes or no? One bottle in India is equal to one bottle in USA, which means I can take the bottle from India. If I sell it in USA, same price will be there. Reality. Now come to reality. If I take a bottle from India to USA, do you think same price will remain for the bottle? Of course, no. Why? If I move the bottle from India to USA, don't you think cost of transportation will increase the price? If the government of USA will impose taxes on the bottle from India, that will increase the price. So don't you think theoretically, right, it talks in a very simple way. One bottle in India is equal to one bottle in USA. That is a purchasing power parity, outcome of it. But if you take this bottle from India to USA, don't you think the price of the bottle will start increasing? Hence, this bottle, when it enters into the USA market, will become less competitive. Correct or wrong? I hope you understand the logic behind it. So theoretically it works out, but in reality, no. The purchasing power parity does not consider transportation cost. The purchasing power parity does not consider what about the import taxes, export taxes, etc. That is the criticism. That is the criticism regarding purchasing power parity theory. Now, two more points regarding purchasing power parity theory. Please understand and do let me know now. If, can I say, if real exchange rate is equal to 1, it simply means currencies are at purchasing power parity. You already have answered it, but think of it and let me know again. Can I say, if real exchange rate is equal to 1, can I say the currencies are at purchasing power parity? Let me know. Please participate. Last 1 hour is there today. Last 1 hour is there. Please participate. Right, sir, some of you ask, how is that possible? How is that possible? You already have answered the question, right? Without realizing, you have answered the question. One bottle in USA will cost you $2. One bottle in India will cost you 100 rupee. $1 is equal to 50 rupee. That is the nominal exchange rate. Use the real exchange rate and tell me, will it not become equivalent? That is, one bottle in USA is equal to one bottle in America. I'm sorry, one bottle in India. Use the formula. Earlier I've given the formula, which is not at all needed. Not at all needed. Why? Right? $2 is equal to 100 rupee. Right? That is value of one bottle. And value of one bottle is already equivalent to 100 rupee in India. So now can I say one bottle in USA is equal to one bottle in right India, which is nothing but real exchange rate is equal to 1. All of you will agree now? Can I say when real exchange rate is equal to 1, can I say rupee and dollar are at purchasing power parity? Can be asked in UPSC. Please be very, very careful. I'll repeat it again. If RER is equal to 1 for rupee and dollar, right, both the currencies are at parity. That is purchasing power parity. That is the meaning of real exchange rate is equal to 1. Okay. Point number 2. Point number 2. Let me take simple numbers here. Right now, what is the nominal exchange rate? Right now, nominal exchange rate is how much? Around $1 is equal to 80 rupees. Again, whatever exact number is there, please don't worry. Whatever is the exact number, please don't worry. I'm saying $1 is equal to 80 rupees. That is the nominal exchange rate. And in case of real exchange rate, in case of PPP, in case of exchange rate at PPP, I'll take the World Bank report. $1 is equal to 22 rupees. $1 is equal to 22 rupees. Now, please use this calculation. Understand this carefully. Imagine, okay? Imagine, right? Let's say the GDP number for India. GDP number for India is, let's say, 1100 rupees. I hope you understand this calculation. Please listen carefully. GDP for India is how much? 1100 rupees. Now, if you use this GDP number in terms of rupees and calculate GDP in terms of currencies, that is dollars, using the nominal exchange rate, can I write it like this? Can I write it like this? Can I say, right, GDP at nominal exchange rate? GDP at nominal exchange rate will be somewhere around $14. Anybody has a difficulty in calculation? I'm rounding off the number. Please understand, I'm rounding off the number. GDP at a nominal exchange rate in terms of dollars, it is around $14. Arey Baba, those who are asking me to repeat, if $1 is equal to 80 rupees, your GDP number in terms of rupees is 1100 rupees. Use the calculator, no. Those are asking how, please show the calculation. Use the calculator. Divide 1100 by 80. My dear, $1 is equal to 80 rupees. Right? 1100 rupees is equal to how many dollars? Can you go back to your high school? Can you please go back to your high school? Right? I'm rounding off. I know for a fact you will not get it 14. You will get it as 13.75. I know you will get it at 13.75. Can I round it off to $14? So if you calculate GDP of India at a nominal exchange rate, you will get it as a $14. Now you calculate GDP at purchasing power parity exchange rate. Can I say you will get $50? Let me know. Can I directly write and say you will get it as $50? Now, when you read newspapers, you will come across this statement. Trust me, you will come across this statement. They'll say India's GDP at purchasing power parity exchange rate. India's GDP at purchasing power parity exchange rate is much greater than India's GDP at nominal exchange rate. All of you have understood why? Let me know. All of you can understand why. Why is this so much of difference? For example, you can check it later. They'll say India's GDP nominal exchange rate, it is somewhere around $3.3 trillion. Don't buy at exact number. UPSC will not ask you that. It is somewhere around 3.3 or 3.5 or 3.7 trillion dollars. But if you check India's GDP at purchasing power parity exchange rate, it will be more than $10 trillion. Right? Why there is so much of a difference? This is the reason. Can I go forward now? Everybody is okay. Why at PPP India's GDP will be much bigger compared to India's GDP at a nominal exchange rate. This is basically how the calculation is done. You do not by heart calculation. You remember this. That is at PPP GDP value is much higher compared to, right, the GDP value at nominal exchange rate. Anybody has a problem with this? So this is my first class, my dear. Since morning I have been telling you this. If this is the first class for you, many of the terms that I keep on using, you will feel these terms are alien to you. You will feel these terms are Arabic to you, right? Are Sanskrit to you. Nothing wrong with that because you have not learned previous, you have not attended previous classes. So you have a year-long schedule. Please get into, right, the year-long schedule where economy is started from the class 1. Please attend. Right? You'll get all of these concepts again. Please attend. Okay? Done. Sir, what do you mean by competitiveness? Competitiveness simply means are your products, exports, are they becoming cheaper or costlier in the international market? Are they becoming cheaper or costlier in the international market? If they become cheaper, competitiveness will increase. If they become costlier, competitiveness will definitely decrease. Okay. So GDP at PPP is better indicator or GDP at NER. Both are used generally in the international situation. We use GDP at nominal exchange rate. Right? For example, At least now you should be clear why government of India is targeting $5 trillion. Let me know, right? Have you heard of this or not? Government of India again and again keeps on saying we want to make India's GDP worth 5 trillion, which means they are targeting nominal exchange rate. They are not targeting GDP at PPP, because GDP at PPP is already more than $10 trillion. It doesn't make any sense for them. That they are targeting nominal exchange rate. Okay. So that is the discussion regarding concept of exchange rates. Can we go forward now? Anybody is finding anything is difficult for them, anything is a problem, please do let me know right now. Market exchange rate is equal to nominal exchange rate, meaning whatever is the market, I'm sorry, whatever is the exchange rate today right now in the market, that is nominal exchange rate. Okay. Always a real exchange rate can be a PPP, but PPP not always a RER. Correct, my dear, please understand, whenever RER is equal to 1, it is a PPP. Simple. Whenever real exchange rate is equal to 1, we'll simply say currencies are at parity. If it is not equal to 1, currencies are not at parity. That is the meaning. Okay. Can I go forward here? Sir, what kind of questions can come from this chapter? Let me show it to you. Let me show it to you. Right, we will discuss the questions tomorrow. Right, let me show it to you. Solve this question now. It will be a small change in the pace of the classroom. Solve this question. Okay, solve this question. Let's see. Okay, 36% have answered correctly. It should have been more. Let's start. The effect of devaluation of a currency is that it necessarily improves the competitiveness of domestic exports in the foreign markets. Anybody has a problem with the statement 1? If government of India will devalue the rupee, what is going to the impact? India's trade competitiveness, right, will improve. Right, export competitiveness will improve. Statement 1 is correct. Increase the foreign value of domestic currency. What do you mean by increase in the foreign value of the domestic currency? Don't get confused. $1 is equal to 50 rupees. $1 is equal to 60 rupees. Devaluation has been done. What has happened to the value of domestic currency against a foreign currency? What has happened in case of devaluation? What has happened to the value of domestic currency against a foreign currency? The value of domestic currency against a foreign currency has fallen down. That is the meaning of the term foreign value. Right? For example, you're in USA. For USA, for example, for you, if rupee is devalued, what has happened to this currency value for you? Right, for you, the value of this currency has not increased, value of this currency has fallen down. Right, so increase in the foreign value of domestic currency, can I say correct? No, statement 2 is wrong. Improves the trade balance. Improves the trade balance. Do you think, right, if a rupee value is devalued, if a rupee value is reduced against a dollar, trade balance necessary will improve? I've answered this, by the way. Do you think the trade balance will necessarily improve? For example, if you are a net importer, answer to my question now. If you are a net importer and your value of the currency is depreciated or let's say devalued, Do you think the trade balance means what? The gap between import and export. Simple. The gap between import and export. So if there is a devaluation of the domestic currency, is it necessary that the gap between import and export will come down? Not necessary. Not necessary. The gap might in fact widen. For example, for India, which is a net dependent import country or import dependent country, the imports can become so huge or very costly, the gap might actually widen. So third one is wrong. Right option is option A, one only. Anybody has a difficulty in this? Let me know. Anybody has difficulty in this? Can we go forward? Have a look at this. Next question. Okay, 43% have answered correctly. It should have been more. Increase in the nominal effective exchange rate. This was asked last year. And this year, if you ask me, sir, this year prelims, what question has been asked on international trade in exchange rate? There is a question on sterilization. You can check it, right? I don't think so. I've got that question in this sequencing. But this year in the prelims, the question was asked on sterilization, right? So these kind of terminologies are used by UPSC. Please be very careful. Increase in nominal effective exchange rate indicates appreciation of rupee. Statement 1 is correct. An increase in the real effective exchange rate indicates improvement in the trade competitiveness. No, it reduces trade competitiveness. An increase in the trend in the domestic inflation relative to inflation in other countries is likely to cause an increasing divergence between near and rear. Statement is correct. In fact, I would say this question was slightly on a difficult level. I will agree to this. This question was slightly on a difficult level. Why? Third statement is difficult. Third statement is difficult. For example, if you read NCRTs, if you read any reference book for Indian economy, that is GS paper 3, I will guarantee you that none of the books will discuss point number 3. None of the books will discuss point number 3. In fact, they will not even give you any calculation. They will simply say, near is this, rear is this, and right, what will happen with near? This is the meaning. When rear changes, this is the meaning. Beyond that, you can check and correct me if I'm wrong. Let me know. You can check in any book that you have and correct me if I'm wrong. Beyond this, they will not even discuss what is the difference between near and rear, and right, what is the impact of inflation on both near and rear. They will not discuss it. You check it. That's the reason I'm saying for UPSC, be careful. For UPSC, slightly be careful, right? Start applying concepts. And many of you are saying, sir, you could have applied elimination method, right? You could have eliminated it very easily. Yes, yes, right? You could apply elimination method. But please tell me, this year, was there any question on using elimination method? Let me know. Right, this year question paper, if you have seen in the prelims, let me know. Were there any questions where you can use, right, elimination method? No, questions have been eliminated. Those kind of questions have been eliminated now. You are not getting questions on elimination method now. So please be very careful. So one question on rear and near, another question on the concept of rupee devaluation, and this year there is a question on the concept of sterilization in the forex market. Okay, now let me start with a new concept now. Let me start. Couple of more questions are there. Don't worry. Let me cover all the concepts and we'll solve all the questions. You do not worry. Let me start. Concept of balance of payment. BOP, balance of payment. Now, what do you mean by balance of payment? Simple, please understand this. Balance of payments refers to the record of all transactions which which will lead to inflow of currencies and outflow of currencies from India. Very simple, do not complicate it. What do you mean by balance of payment? Balance of payment consists of record of transactions which will lead to inflow of the currencies into India and outflow of currencies from India. Now, let me give you one more interpretation of this, one more way to define balance of payment. India has relations with rest of the world. Is the statement correct? India has relations. Relations means the labor can be coming into India or going out of India. Capital can come into India, go out of India. Right? People can come into India, go out of India. Goods can come into India, go out of India. So India has a relation with the rest of the world, and as a relation with the rest of the world, or because of this relation with the rest of the world, can I say that there will be dollars coming into India and dollars going out of India? Simple. Because of these relations, can I say dollars will be coming into India? That is, India is receiving money and India is also paying money. So all these transactions are recorded. This is called as a balance of payment. Simple. All these transactions, that is dollars received by India, right? Dollars means any other foreign currency, any payment. Any payment that is received by India and any payment that is done by India to the rest of the world, it is called as balance of payments. Right? Two definitions I've given, both are one and the same. Only interpretation is different, both are one and the same. It is simply an account. That's it. If you want to simplify it much more, it is an account. Account wherein how much money will come to India, how much money will go out of India, will keep a record of it. That is balance of payment. Now, who will keep the record of all these transactions? The balance of payments for India, it is maintained by Reserve Bank of India. It is maintained by Reserve Bank of India. It is maintained by RBI. Now, whenever you talk about balance of payments, please understand, in balance of payments, they'll say there are two accounts. In case of some of the books, they'll say two accounts. In some of the books, they'll say three accounts. Let me explain it. Listen to it carefully. The balance of payments are traditionally in India, as published by Reserve Bank of India, traditionally in case of India, there are only two accounts. But IMF, International Monetary Fund, IMF, International Monetary Fund, right, basically says instead of two accounts, we should have three accounts. One is a current account, second one is a capital account, third one is called as financial account. I'll repeat the statement. In case of India, traditionally, RBI uses only two accounts in the balance of payment. One is called as a current account, second one is a capital account. But IMF says we should have three accounts: current, capital, and financial. So what RBI does is they will take all the transactions in the financial account, they will add this account with the capital account. They'll simply mention only two accounts. One is current account, second one is capital and financial account. That is second point. Point number three. What is the difference between a current account and capital account? How do we differentiate what should go into current, what should go into capital? Simple identification. Please remember this. Any transaction that will have an impact on national income of a country. I repeat, any transaction that will have an impact on national income of a country, right? We generally keep it under the current account. Any transaction that will lead to, right, or that is associated with asset and liabilities, will keep it under the capital account. For example, let me ask you a very simple question. Imagine a foreign company will bring money into India, set up a new manufacturing facility in India. I'll repeat. A foreign company will bring money into India, set up a new manufacturing facility in India. Please tell me, will you keep this as a part of a current account or capital account? Let me know. Will you keep this transaction as a part of a current account or part of a capital account? Right? We are creating assets. Yes or no? We are creating asset, so it has to be part of capital account. I'll give you one more example. Indian company will borrow from Bank of USA. Right? Indian company will borrow from Bank of USA under external commercial borrowing. Now, please tell me, will you keep it as a part of a current account or capital account? Think of it. Please think of it. Indian company will borrow from a bank in USA under external commercial borrowing. Will you keep it as a part of a current account or capital account? My dear, it should be mentioned as a capital account. Don't say current account. It should be part of capital account. Why? Don't you think ECB is creating a liability in India? Tell me. Very simple idea. Right? Is ECB going to create a liability or not? Of course, yes. So all the liabilities are part of capital account. Mention it as a part of capital account. So very simple identification. Do not complicate it. Right? So come to the current account. What kind of transactions will be recorded in the current account? Exports and imports. One side is the revenue. Revenue means what? The money is coming into India. And the other side is expenditure. Money is going out of India. So value of exports, dollars are coming in. Investment income. Investment income means what? Imagine you have invested in the shares of Tesla company. Simple question to all of you. You have invested in the shares of Tesla company. You will earn certain dividends on this. So can I say this is an investment income that will come into India? Yes or no? Think of it, right? Apply logic and please do let me know. Right? You have invested in a foreign market, you will earn money on it. Can I call this as investment income that will come into India? In the same way, can the investment income go out of India as well? Of course, yes. Just like you are bringing income into India, right? Income will also flow out of India. What about employee compensation? You will go to USA, earn for 6 months, come back to India, you will bring right money into India. In the same way, let's say a foreign consultant has worked in India for 6 months. They will go out of India, they will take the money out of India. Remittances coming in, remittances going out. What do you mean by remittances? Please understand. Remittances are nothing but transfer payments. Remittances are nothing but transfer payments. What do you mean by transfer payments? Transfer payments are those kind of transactions where money will be transferred without any exchange of goods and services. We have discussed this already. I'll tell you the context also. Did we discuss the concept of transfer payments when we were discussing GDP earlier? Correct or wrong? Please correct me if I'm wrong. Did we not discuss the concept of transfer payments when we discussed GDP earlier? That is in the first week. What is a transfer payment? One-sided transaction, one-sided payment without any exchange of goods and services. For example, you will go to USA, you are earning sitting in USA, and you will send a certain amount of money for your spouse. You will send a certain amount of money for your, right, let's say sibling. You will transfer certain amount of money for your relatives. Right? Can I call it as a remittance which is coming into India? Yes or no? Can I call this as a remittance which is coming into India? On the other side, right? On the other side, can the remittances go out of India? Of course, yes. So, in remittances as well as out remittances. In fact, please remember this. Regarding remittances, World Bank will publish an annual report. Regarding remittances, World Bank publishes an annual report. And India is the top recipient of remittances in the global market. I'll repeat the statement. India is the top recipient of right remittances in the global market. Last year, the amount of remittances that India received crossed more than $100 billion for the first time. Last year, the amount of in remittances that we received crossed more than 100 billion for the first time. We are much ahead compared to other countries. Second highest is China. So these are certain points regarding the components in the current account. Come to the capital account. Come to the capital account. The foreign loans taken right today will become part of right the revenue side of the balance of payment. If you have paid the foreign loans, if you have given a foreign loan, that will become part of expenditure. Foreign direct investment, foreign company will invest in India, that is a revenue side. Right, Indian companies will invest abroad, that is foreign direct investment going out of India. Institutional investors will bring money into India, invest. Institutional investors will take out the money from India. So these are right transactions which will lead to inflow of dollars into India. These are transactions which will lead to outflow of dollars from India. So current account, capital and financial account. Can we go forward now? Can we go forward? Let me focus only on exports and imports now. Let me focus on exports and imports. Employee compensation, salaries. Salaries. If you go to USA for a period of 6 months, you'll be paid in dollars. You'll come back to India. You will bring the dollars into India. Very simple. Okay. Right. Let me focus on exports and imports. Right. Focus on exports and imports. Why? Right. Please understand this. Whenever you talk about exports and imports, you can divide them into two components. One is called as a goods. Instead of goods, they will use the term merchandise. Instead of using the term goods, they will use the term merchandise. The other one is services. The other one is basically services. So merchandise and services. Now let me know, can I also say services are part of invisibles? Yes or no? Can I also say services are part of invisibles? Invisibles means we can't see, there is no physical form. Goods we can say, for example, this is a good. This is a good, right? Ola cab, that is a service, right? Swiggy, that's a service. Banking, that is a service. So invisibles, that is invisible. Services are part of invisibles. Now please have a look at it. What about investment income? Is it a good or a service? I'm sorry, is it visible or invisible? What about employee compensation? What about remittances? Right, so I hope you understand now. Invisibles. Invisibles, there are many components of invisibles under the current account itself. Okay. Now come to the main point here. Goods, right, or merchandise, services or invisibles. Now, whenever you talk about import and export, generally, not always, generally what you observe in case of India is that the value of goods or the merchandise that we import is greater than the value of merchandise we export. It happens generally, not always. There has also been certain situation where we have exported more compared to imports. I hope you understand my statement. There have also been certain situations where we have exported more compared to imports, but traditionally, generally, the value of imports in India is higher compared to value of exports. Please remember this. Now, why is this required? There is a technical set of technical terms here. Understand this carefully. There is a term called as a trade surplus, balanced trade, and trade deficit. Right? Understand all the three terms. There is a term trade surplus, balanced trade, and trade deficit. Now, what do you mean by balanced trade? The value of imports is equal to value of exports. Trade deficit is value of imports is greater than value of exports. And trade surplus is value of exports is greater than value of imports. Now, having understood this surplus, balance, and deficit, please start making observations. Tell me now, observe and tell me, in the context of merchandise trade, in the context of merchandise trade, does India have a balance, surplus, or a deficit? Let me know. In the context of merchandise trade, and again, don't calculate anything. Observe and tell me. Can I say India has a trade deficit in case of merchandise trade? Yes? Any problem with this? India has a trade deficit in the context of merchandise trade. What about services? What about services? India has a surplus in case of services. Right? Look at the numbers, you will understand. And finally, what about overall trade? What about overall trade? In the context of overall trade, India experiences a trade deficit. Simple. India experiences a trade deficit. Repeat. What is difficulty in this? If value of import is greater than export, Baba, very, right, understand this. You're not focused. If value of imports is greater than exports, please tell me, will the dollars flow out of India or flow into India? Simple question to all of you. If value of imports is greater than export, will overall I'm talking, overall, will dollars come into India or flow out of India? Some of you are not able to calculate. Some of you are not even able to understand. My dear, if value of imports is $100, value of exports is $80, can I say overall dollars will flow out of India? How many? $20. Anybody is finding this difficult? Now, because, right, understand this. Why is this happening? Because value of import is greater than value of export. Can I call this as a deficit? Simple. Can I call this as a deficit of $20 for India? That is exactly what we are doing here. In case of merchandise, we have a deficit of these many numbers. In case of services, we have a surplus of these many numbers. And overall, right, we have a deficit, which means because of trading in goods and services, overall $81 billion have gone out of India in financial year 21 and 22. In financial year 20 and 21, overall, right, $8 billion, I'm sorry, $9 billion, almost $9 billion have gone out of India. Right, that is in 19 and 20, overall $73 billion have gone out of India. All of you okay with this? Can I go forward? Trade deficit, trade surplus, merchandise trade, services trade, etc., etc. These are the concepts. Now, before I go forward, please understand this. Looking at this merchandise trade and services trade, please tell me, will you be able to find out what is the trade situation for India with USA? Let me know. Can this right? Can this information that is provided to you? Can this information give you the idea regarding what is a trade situation between India and USA? Can you come to know only on this data? Answer is no. You cannot come to know. Which means India might be having. Please understand this next point. India might be having surplus with some of the countries. India might be having deficit with some of the countries, but the deficit is so large. The deficit is so large, it is eating up even the surplus trade data. Correct? Does it make sense to you? Let me know. India might be having surplus with some of the countries, and India might be having deficit with some of the countries, but the deficit is so high. The deficit is so high, it is nullifying, it is simply negating, eating away, right, the surplus from these countries. That is the precise reason. Overall, in case of India, we have a trade deficit. For example, India has a trade surplus with USA. On the other hand, India has a trade deficit with China. Right? This is a fact, by the way. I'm not asking you. India has a trade surplus with USA. India has a trade deficit with China. But the amount of deficit we have with China is very, very high. Very, very high. So high that whatever surplus we get, the deficit will be much, much higher, as a result of which outflow of dollars. There is a net outflow of dollars because of the trade. Now, please understand the next point very carefully. Is it okay to say, or will it be correct to say, having trade deficit is always bad? Tell me now. Is it okay to say, or will it be correct to say, having a trade deficit is always bad? Anybody in the classroom who says having trade deficit is always bad? Answer is no. Please do not say that having trade deficit is always bad. Absolutely no. Why? I'll prove it. Look at this. Have a look at this. India is a developing country. All of you will agree? Or anybody says we have already become a developed country? India is a developing country. And when you have a developing country, don't you think you'll be dependent on many of the imports? Because by the virtue of being a developing country, it simply means you do not have all the resources. You do not have all the resources. You'll be forced to import some of the resources. Now the question is, the imports that you do. This is important. Now the question is, the imports that you're doing, are these essential imports or are these non-essential imports? Understand this argument very carefully. We will connect it to current affairs. We will connect it to current affairs. Now the argument is, you are importing. That's a fact. You are importing. Now the question is, the imports that you are doing, are these essential imports or are these non-essential imports? Now many of you will ask, sir, how do you define what is essential, what is non-essential? Government of India simply says, if we have sufficient domestic production capacity, I'll call this as a non-essential import. I'll give you example. If I have sufficient domestic production capacity to meet the demand, if I import it after that also, I'll call this as a non-essential import. Can I give you an example? Can I give you an example? Toy products in India. Let me know. Toys in India. Don't you think we have sufficient production capacity in India? Let me know. Current affairs. Please understand this is connected to current affairs. Tell me, do we have sufficient production capacity for toys in India? Answer is yes, by the way. If you're thinking, answer is yes. But even after we have sufficient capacity, until very recently, we used to import these toys into India. And it is not a surprise. Most of these toys that we imported were coming from China itself. Right? They were coming from China. Why I'm talking about toys? Right? If you are reading newspapers, very recently, India has become a net exporter of toys now. Check it in the Google. Please check it. Very recently, India has become a net exporter of toys. Net exporter means what? Right? Whatever is the value of exports, it is more than the value of imports. Now, despite having sufficient capacity of toys manufacturing, production capacity, if we keep on importing it to India, can I call this as non-essential import? And because of non-essential import, don't you think your trade deficit will keep on widening? On the other side, essential import. Can I give you a best example? Crude oil. Best example for essential import is crude oil. Please tell me, do you think India has a sufficient production capacity of crude oil in India? Think of it. Do you think India has a sufficient production capacity for crude oil? Absolutely no. Our demand is so high compared to production capacity. We end up importing around 85% of crude oil. So now tell me, can I say crude oil is essential? So because we do not have sufficient capacity of production, can we import crude oil if it causes widening of the deficit? Is it wrong? Tell me now. We'll keep on importing essential commodity and this will contribute to widening of the trade deficit. Is it wrong? It is not wrong because you do not have production capacity. But on the other side, if I keep on importing non-essential import, and that will widen production, that will widen the trade deficit, don't you think that is wrong? That is the reason, please understand. That's the reason what is Government of India trying to do. We are trying to address the issue of import of non-essential import, produce in India, promote domestic manufacturing, and we are also trying to reduce import dependence of essential commodities. For example, have you come across any reform by Government of India to reduce the value, to reduce the cost of crude oil imports into India? Let me see. In recent times, have you come across any reform of Government of India where one of the objective is I want to reduce import dependence of crude oil? Let me know. Right? Have you come across a concept of E20? Let me check current affairs. Concept of E20, ethanol 20, E20 blending program, very, very famous now. Earlier it was E10, now this has been made to E20, ethanol blending program, very, very famous. What about electric vehicles? What about electric vehicles? What about usage of salt caverns? This was there last month in the newspapers. Yes or no? Salt caverns which will be developed for strategic crude oil reserves, right, etc., etc. So I hope you understand, right? I hope you understand. Government of India is trying to reduce. It is trying to reduce the, right. Let's say the gap, trade deficit gap, by implementing many reforms to address import of essential commodities as well as non-essential commodities. Can we go forward now? Anybody has any difficulty regarding this? Can we go forward? Right. Next concept is basically current account. The overall current account. Please look at the overall current account. Look at overall current account. Let's say the overall current account on the revenue side. The overall current account on the revenue side. What if I write a number like this? This is equivalent to $100 billion and this is equivalent to $80 billion. Please look at the example and tell me now. Overall current account, I'm saying revenue side is $100 billion and expenditure side is $80 billion. Is it a current account surplus or current account deficit? Let me know. Is it a current account surplus or a current account deficit? Can I say this is a current account surplus? Because overall in the current account, $20 billion are flowing into India. I'll repeat the statement. Overall in the current account, $20 billion are flowing into India. Can there be a vice versa situation? Can there be opposite side also? Of course, yes. What if it is not 100? What if it is not 80 but $180 billion? Right? What if it is not 80 but $180 billion? Now, can I simply say it is current account deficit? Right? It is a current account deficit. CAD, current account deficit. Overall, $100 billion are flowing out of India. Right? That is basically current account deficit. So there can be current account surplus, there can be current account deficit, and there can also be a balanced current account. But in the context of India, we generally have current account deficit. Is it okay? Right? In the context of India, right, generally we experience a current account deficit. And one of the main reasons of having a current account deficit is this trade deficit. Right? Very simple. One of the main reasons for having this current account deficit is the trade deficit itself. So any problem with the second one? First one is regarding the trade. Second one is regarding overall current account. Overall current account. Now please tell me, if there is a current account deficit, if there is a current account deficit, it simply means, let's take these numbers only. If you look at these numbers, dollars coming into India are $100 billion and dollars going out of India are $180 billion. Can I now say there is a overall outflow? there is a overall outflow in the current account of $80 billion. Any difficulty? Overall, in the current account, $80 billion will have to go out of India. Now, question is, from where will you get these $80 billion? From where will you get these $80 billion? Right? That is where the capital account will come into picture. Forex reserves will also come into picture. Right? Forex reserves, because extra $80 billion will have to be put into the market. All of you will agree. If you look at only the current account, can I simply say extra $80 billion will have to be present in the market? Somebody has to put this extra $80 billion. So that is where the capital account will come into picture, or else the forex reserves will come into picture. Right now, look at the capital account. Please look at the capital account. Very simple idea. If the revenue side of the capital account is greater than the expenditure side, we'll simply say there is a surplus in the capital account or vice versa. Simple argument. Same logic applied here. If the revenue side of the capital account is greater than the expenditure side in the capital account, we'll simply say there is a surplus in the capital account, or else we'll say there is a deficit in the capital account. Generally what happens in India, generally what happens, there is a surplus, or there could be even, right, the overall deficit also in case of capital account. So this is related to capital account as well as current account. So let me pause the discussion here. Tomorrow we will take up overall balance of payment. Tomorrow, right, we'll start with this point, overall balance of payment. That's not very difficult, a basic application of what we have discussed so far. Tomorrow we'll start from the concept of overall balance of payment, right? BOP deficit, a BOP surplus, BOP crisis. What can government of India do, right, in order to reduce the deficit? What can right, government of India do to address the issue of right, the deficit in the let's say sorry, capital account, current account, convertibility, etc. We'll take it up tomorrow. Done? Okay. Now, if are these PPTs enough for economy? My dear, every week I'll keep on asking you to do the same thing. For static information, have a look at it, but you will have to update with current affairs. Do not be under the assumption, and I am not giving you that false impression. Do not be under the assumption that every question that UPSC will ask will be from slides. I will not give you that assurance. Why? UPSC can pick up questions from current affairs. Trust me, they will do that. UPSC will pick up questions from current affairs. So do not be under the impression that everything that is there in the slide will be asked in UPSC. No, you'll have to use a reference book, one static source, plus current affairs, plus PPTs. From the first day, I've been telling you this. I will tell you this next week also, and the last week after that. Okay, done. Slide before BOP, last point. What was the last point before BOP? Last point was very simple. Right, I said whenever you calculate GDP using nominal exchange rate and GDP at purchasing power parity exchange rate, the GDP at PPP, the number will be bigger compared to GDP at nominal exchange rate. That was the point I was making earlier. Okay. Okay. Why second option is incorrect? I believe. Okay. Which was the question? Darshika, please tell me which was the question. Right, because I don't know the context now. Why second option is correct? I don't know which question you are asking. Were you asking about, let's say, near and rear? Were you asking, right, from rupee devaluation? Which question, please, right, give me the clarification regarding that. If currency value decreases, then exports will become more expensive. How? My dear, how? If there is a devaluation, it simply means your value, that is the domestic value against a foreign currency, will go down. It will not increase, it will go down. Exports will become more competitive, not costly. They'll become more cheaper in the international market. Okay. Do PPP only calculated with respect to dollar? Generally, yes. Generally, yes, it is calculated in terms of dollar. Why dollar is so important? I'll tell you tomorrow. Why dollar is so important? Why most of the transactions that keep on happening, why do they always talk in the context of dollar? Tomorrow I'll explain. Please don't worry. Okay. Near and rear question. Okay, if the question is on the second option on near and rear, please, we have discussed this. We have discussed this, but anyways, have a look at this. Okay, have a look at this. An increase in real effective exchange rate indicates improvement in trade competitiveness. If rear increases, please go back. Please look at the PPT. If rear increases, trade competitiveness will not increase. A trade competitiveness, in fact, will fall down. Hence, the second statement is wrong. Okay. Always, okay, we have addressed this question already. PPP is theoretical exchange rate and not applicable in reality? Yes, because I've told you that if you look at the PPP theory that we have discussed, one bottle in India is equal to one bottle in USA. Right? Prices are right at per as far as a PPP exchange rate is concerned. Right? The exchange rate is same. But if you move this bottle into USA, the price will not remain same. Price will keep on changing. That is increasing. Right? What about the taxes? What about the cost of transportation? Those factors are not considered when you talk about purchasing power parity. How does the rupee or dollars have quick appreciation or depreciation? It can happen in reality. Suddenly, because of various events, value might change. For example, imagine India will fall into depression. Imagine, by the way. I'm not saying it is happening. Imagine suddenly in 2 or 3 quarters, right, let's say the growth will fall down and right, recession will continue to happen, and one fine day suddenly will fall into depression. Now please tell me, at that point of time, do you think foreign investors will be interested in India? Don't you think all the investments will start running out of India? Don't you think that will suddenly lead to changes in the exchange rate? So if something happens in USA, right, a best example, my dear, you should not be asking this question. Tell me what happened to the rupee value couple of days ago when USA's sovereign credit rating was reduced, was downgraded. Right? Don't you think suddenly rupee value started depreciating because of that? Yes or no? Think of it. If you don't trust me, read newspapers. That is the reason I am asking you to I am asking you people repeatedly to read newspapers. Right? A lot of these foreign investors withdrew money, went out of India. So automatically sudden depreciation, sudden appreciation can happen. Okay. Okay. For which classes NCRT you have told to read? I've told you 4 NCRT books, class 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. Right? 4 NCRT books. Meaning of remittances? Remittances simply means one-sided transfers without any without any exchange of goods and services. Remittances transfer payments without any exchange of goods and services. But why these are called as remittances? We are sending this money for our friends and relatives, right? Specifically targeting relatives. We keep on sending money to our relatives, right? That is the reason it is called as remittances. Why can't we stop non-essential import? If you stop non-essential import, another country will do the same thing to you. You are exporting something to Australia, Australia will say this is non-essential, will stop the import of it. You cannot suddenly stop it. There are certain contexts, there are certain arguments. We'll discuss that tomorrow. Don't worry. We'll discuss World Trade Organization tomorrow. Okay. Any other question? Any other questions? Any other doubts that you people have? Please explain difference between index and normal comparison. Don't worry about it. Please do not waste your time. You're simply unnecessarily focused on unnecessary things, not at all required. Simply remember this: rupee versus basket of currencies. If the number goes up, rupee is appreciating. If the number goes down, rupee is depreciating. That's it. Don't waste your time. Surplus and deficit meaning, my dear, it's an English term. Surplus is an English term. If inflow is greater than outflow, it is surplus. If inflow is greater than outflow, it is surplus. If inflow is less than outflow, that is deficit. Okay. Okay. Any other questions? Depreciation of rupee, decrease of value compared to past year, not necessarily compared to past year. It can happen in the last 1 week only. It is a reference. Reference is important. From last week, right? Can in this week itself, can the value of rupee fall down? Of course, yes. From last month compared to last month, this month, can it fall down? Of course, yes. So depreciation means value is going down. Value of rupee against a dollar is going down. Okay, done then. Let's take a break now. Break in the sense, right? A final pause for the day. Final break of the day. Tomorrow we'll continue. Okay, tomorrow we'll continue with the discussion. Again, we'll start with the balance of payment account itself. Last couple of concepts are left out. After that, right, we'll discuss a WTO tomorrow. Done then. So let's stop the discussion today. Tomorrow we'll meet sharp at 10 a.m. Take care. Good night.